Hello and welcome to another episode of Do Not Fade This podcast. My name is Joshua Reimer. I'm joined by none other than the man, the myth, the legend, Jared Block. Jared, how are you doing on this fine Monday afternoon?
The NFL season's officially in the books. We can talk about the Super Bowl at the end of the show. I was just I came in knowing that I was gonna be, it was like a game that was gonna be very defensive minded. That's exactly what that first half was, and now we get to a spot where we've talked about it for a little bit. We've been in this stretch where NBA has been the main focus for quite a while. But now it truly is and is going to be for the next roughly, 6 weeks. So this one's going to be an interesting week because not only did we just come from the NBA trade deadline week, we're also heading into a volatile last week before the All Star break situation. So give your thoughts on how to kind of maneuver through this next, 6 days that we have before we do get somewhat of a break here.
Yeah, definitely a tough time to maneuver through because this is a point of the season where a lot of teams are ready for the break. A lot of teams, you're going to see guys take some time off, making an extended break essentially, and that causes trouble here and there. But overall, I think that you get really excited about stuff after the break. Teams usually get more acclimated to their trade pieces and all that. And yeah, I'm excited to talk about the slate with you today. I'm especially excited to talk about the slate. I don't know how much you paid attention to the content I put out over the weekend, Jared. I'll be as transparent as anyone in the world. I got my ass kicked this weekend. I got utterly obliterated. Coop, once again, another flag plant where he just doesn't show up. And Sunday NBA was kind of messy with the early games. Still, Edwards not able to score against a Clippers team that's been allowing boatloads of points to guards. Just didn't make sense in my eyes. And I was really thinking about flag planting Kawhi all morning long. And I was like, worried about the blowout. I'll go Ant just in case. I think both of them are in really good spots. Of course, Kawhi goes off for like 41 and 8. So,
Yeah.
rough weekend. Rough doesn't even begin to put it. I got my ass kicked this weekend, and so sometimes when I get my ass kicked in NBA or in MLB, the same thing applies there. I feel like it really helps me to talk with you about the slate. So excited to do exactly that, Jared. Let's get into it. If you're ready, I'm ready. Let's cover injuries on this 10 gamer.
Yeah, unfortunately, with the high amount of games, we have a high amount of injuries. Amidst all the other things that are going on with the trade deadline, fallout stuff. So, with that said, the biggest question marks on the day are going to be Joel Embiid. Unfortunately, Jalen Johnson was a downgrade later after shoot around, which is never good. Then they have Dia as a question mark. He's been questionable for the last 2 weeks or so. Jamal Murray's a questionable tag for what I think is going to be a pretty awesome Denver game, as long as these guys are playing. Norman Powell, questionable on a Heat team that has a high implied total. Dyson Daniels also questionable for the Hawks. And then Jalen Tyson and Dean Wade for the Cavs at least went through shoot around. That's a positive sign for them. They'll be listed questionable. And then finally, Jalen Smith is another Q tag that's important because of the lack of depth there at the position for the Bulls. So we'll talk about a majority of that stuff as we go and move along. Doubtful tags are Josh Giddey, Pele Larson, Trey Jones. And I do think that we will see Joker. I think we'll see Duran play. I think we'll see Bam play. And then DeAndre Ayton already got ruled in. So other guys that may have been out for the past couple of days since we've not been podcasting. Luka remains out with the hamstring injury. Steph's going to miss this game for the Golden State Warriors with a knee injury. And Shaden Sharp is going to miss for Portland with a calf injury. I think I got the main headlines here. Anything I missed?
No, nothing that I heard. Embiid,
Sabonis is out.
Sabonis. Oh yeah, Sabonis is out. I think he said Embiid questionable, but honestly, you said it at the beginning if you did.
Probable.
I was kind of just
Actually,
wasn't
no.
paying.
I did say questionable. Do you think
Yeah,
he's going to play tonight?
I think he plays. He's been playing through a lot of these questionable tags recently. So like, I'm not saying it's like the Kawhi level of questionable, or like we're just assuming that he's going to play because I think he sat out one of these questionable tags recently. But with the West Coast trip happening right now, I do think he ends up playing most likely. But yes, he is questionable. Shea's still out, obviously. If you don't know, he's out till after the All-Star break. We've known about this for quite some time. Mobley's still out for Cleveland. Kuminga still not making his debut with the Hawks yet. You said Jalen Johnson questionable, correct?
Yeah, he got downgraded
I know that's a newer one.
earlier this morning, so that's not a great sign.
No, not a great sign. One guy that is returning is Franz Wagner. We're going to see Wagner for Orlando for the first time in quite a while. And, yeah, I think that's it. Kobe White also not making his debut appearance for Charlotte quite yet. So we'll see when that does happen. But, all right, anything else here, Jared? If not, let's get over to top implied team totals.
Yep, well, let's do that.
Let's do it. Let's start out with this top team, which is a team a team I just complained about in the Minnesota Timberwolves as they take on the Atlanta Hawks. They have a 123.25 implied team total here. They're 8.5-point favorites. Over-unders at 237.5. Yeah, give me the rundown. What do we think we need to know for this Minnesota team here?
Well, luckily, and I guess maybe unluckily, there are no injuries on this side as of right now. So that obviously can make things rather tricky. I will say I like the pace of play in this game for Minnesota. I like the game total being close to 240. I like the idea of trying to believe in Anthony Edwards in the second leg of a back-to-back. He has hit 40-plus PRA in 4 of 6 of those second-leg situations this year. I think you can look at Julius Randle as the guy that's been really consistent. He's had 7-plus rebounds in 5 straight against the Hawks, which is something that it can be tricky because that dates back a couple of years and how trustworthy is that. But I do think the pace of play, game total, a rather tight spread of 7 points you can kind of talk yourself into a few things on the Minnesota side. The Hawks have been a relatively middling defense, they rank dead middle in terms of defensive efficiency lately. And I do think that when you're looking at zone scoring, there's not a ton to look at. They are allowing a lot of paint stuff. It's kind of the Ant Edwards / Julius Randle zone. So you can kind of buy into those two guys. I think this is a rather uninspiring Rudy Gobert spot. From there, it's tough, man. I don't really love Minnesota necessarily.
Yeah, I was about to say some of the same stuff. I will say I think my involvement in Anthony Edwards tonight will purely depend on what happens with Dyson Daniels here, because Daniels is an all-star defender, or all-star defender isn't a right way to put it, all NBA type of defender. He is that caliber of defense, and so that's why you see Atlanta do a really good job against the point guard position, is because Dyson Daniels always attached to the ball handler no matter what. He plays that good of defense. That's why even with Dante being the point guard, you'll see Dyson still move over to Ant and defend him primarily. If Dyson's out, that's huge for these guards. I think that makes a world of a difference, because if Dyson is out, who's next up? CJ? Oh my gosh, could you imagine the field day that Anthony Edwards would have with CJ McCollum defending him? It would be barbecue chicken. So I really want Dyson to sit here, because I think it would be a good spot for Ant, regardless of the zone defense, regardless of the DVP. I'm purely taking defender on defender for that one, or defender on player, I guess. Outside of that, not much interest. I guess same thing kind of goes for Randall, right? Johnson's a really good defender too. If Johnson doesn't play, Randall gets kind of a cupcake matchup most likely with whoever they decide to put at the 4. But yeah, I'm focused on Edwards here, because I think Dyson missing would be huge for Edwards.
Yep, and he came in questionable pretty much all day, and then we had the Jalen Johnson news. So right now, it doesn't appear that Minnesota would be a 6.5-point favorite with both of Daniels and Johnson out, but certainly could see it if one of them would sit.
Well, they opened at 6.5. They're at 8.5 now.
Oh. I think Jalen Johnson moves at 1.5 points.
Yeah, I would agree. That honestly sounds right about right. To be honest there. All right, anything else here? If not, let's move on to the next team.
I think main takeaway here is that Minnesota's fully healthy, and that's tough to really believe in when you have so many injury-ridden teams. But yeah, the Edwards spot's one to watch, Randall too.
For sure. All right, let's move on to this next team, which is going to be the Miami Heat. They are a 123 implied team total today. They're 6.5-point favorites right now. Over-under is at 240 in this game. Obviously a good matchup against the Jazz. You see the shitty stuff the Jazz did on Friday? Was it
I
Friday or
did.
Saturday?
I did.
I think it was Friday. Yeah, talk about talk about shady, man. I guess maybe that's after the podcast shooting the shit type segment there. But what do you think about this Miami team facing off against Utah?
Yeah, you like that the Jazz can actually keep up in pace with Miami. Miami obviously number one, but Utah running at the third fastest pace right now in terms of the entire season. Gives you a total of 240. You feel very good about that. An 8-point spread is optimistic too in terms of believing in the side. When it comes to what Utah is allowing a lot, I think what we have to do right now in what this is, what Jaren Jackson's third game with this team, I think you have to just fade the internal scoring type situations and focus just on the above the break three or just the 3-point spot for most offenses going up against Utah until we get a bigger sample size of what's going on here. So when we saw Kessler when he was healthy and when Lowry was playing, and Utah just kind of made a significant effort in trying to stop paint field goal scoring. So we're starting to see that come to fruition again. I think this is a great 3-point scoring spot. The problem with this one is that the best 3-point scorer on the team is questionable in Norman Powell. So that's what you have to wait for. I think that if you didn't have Powell, you could buy into Andrew Wiggins, who grades out as the top corner scorer, corner three scorer on this side. I'm not like super impressed with the Bam scoring. I guess you can talk about that in a bit more of a beneficiary light when looking at DVP, but we have Larson out as well. Doesn't help the 3-point conversation. It's kind of just waiting for Norm Powell news. And again, like that's an elite spot. He'll make the big board from that regard. But are you really like super stoked about it as of right now? I don't know if you can say confidently yes. Hopefully we get that news in the next 2 hours.
Yeah, for sure. Hopefully we do get that news soon. I'm not all that thrilled about Miami as a whole. I completely agree with you that like front court guys you're probably staying away from right now when you face off against the Jazz. The Jaren Jackson defensive measures have made a difference already. You're already seeing this team do a lot better in the restricted area. Even over the last 7 games, they've just played better overall defense against the center position, and he's only been here for 3 of them. So, like, you imagine what a full 7-game sample size might look like, and you start to get scared off of these front court guys. Staying away from Bam. Yeah, I don't know what to do with the Norman Powell stuff. I hope he plays. I think it's a good spot for him if he does. If he doesn't, then you're kind of just shit out of luck almost. Simone Fontecchio will probably get the start now that Pele Larson's not going to play. Simone's a guy that I'd be at least halfway interested in looking at, like, what's his line at for threes. But I don't know how much you're really getting behind Miami today.
This feels like a very niche player prop market where you're, kind of relying on maybe 3-point attempts, or you're relying on maybe like an alted 3 situation.
For sure. All right. Anything else here? If not, we'll move on and talk about one of 2 teams. I'll give you your pick of Denver or Pelicans. Or we can talk about both of them and just cover 4 teams like we usually do.
Yeah,
up to you.
We can do that.
All right. So let's start with the Pelicans. They have a 120 implied total. They're 9.5-point favorites here. Might be the biggest favorites I've ever seen for this Pelicans team. Over-under is at 230.5. They are facing off against the Kings, which explains why they have this incredibly high spread in this game, even with only having 14 wins this year. Pelicans are relatively uninjured here. Obviously still without DeJounte Murray, but outside of that, everyone else is good to go. Give me your thoughts on what the Pelicans bring to the table today against this pretty shitty Kings team.
Yeah. Now that
I think that's putting it pretty nicely too.
Yeah, it's you're putting it nicely. I would say, look, Sabonis is out. We mentioned that already, but we also know that Levine, Monk, DeAndre Hunter, and Keegan Murray are all out for this side. So you start to see why things are adding up this way. They're playing a lot of guys that normally wouldn't be in the starting lineup. So with that said, when looking at this initially, I found it quite difficult to feel super strong about anything in the zone scoring category. So they're allowing a lot of mid-range stuff. They're allowing a lot of paint stuff. It's just how Sacramento has operated. You could say the restricted area defense gets worse, so that could bump up spots for guys like Zion. But at the end of the day, I think what you're focusing on is what does the point guard spot look like and what does the center spot look like. I think that's where I want to start. So give me your thoughts on that. Like, how can we? I've had this issue where the Pelicans have been in a lot of really good spots for point guards, and I've kind of just tried to make an argument that Trey Murphy is the closest thing to the point guard on this side when they're starting Herb Jones technically at the one. Where do you see like the dual position stuff kind of come into play? Do we cross off DVP? What do we rely on here?
I don't know. That's like one of the hardest conversations with. It's like the point guard conversation with Boston. Like, it's nearly impossible to gauge. Well, it got a little bit easier with the trade deadline stuff, but still, it's nearly impossible to gauge which guy is going to be your point guard. Or I guess the better comparison would be like Cooper Flagg and Najee Marshall on Dallas right now. Sure. Like, I get the question almost every time they play over the weekend, like, who's the point guard here? And it beats me. I don't know. Coop's done it. Najee's done it. They're both going to do it in equal amount of time. I would say it kind of goes for this Pelicans team too, right? Like, Zion's going to play point at some points in this game. Trey's going to play point. Herb's going to play point. Derek Queen could potentially play point, big man point. Like, they have plenty of guys to handle the ball. That's what makes this one really tough. Makes it kind of why I like Derek Queen the most, which sounds a little weird, but like, you do like the center position here. You do like the matchup against Renaud. We've seen centers absolutely tear this team to shreds recently, with or without Sabonis. Yeah, the Queen spot looks really solid. I don't know if I like the forwards all too much, but I think that's just the DVP influencing me a little bit. I don't mind the Trey Murphy spot. I feel like the Trey Murphy spot makes the most sense outside of Queen, but I don't know. Kind of tough spot to break down when everyone's healthy here, right?
Yes, it is. And the fact that they just aren't giving Fears a solid enough role. They stopped playing Jordan Poole together. That takes your point guards out. And yeah, DeJounte's still hurt. So with that said, it's just like, it does feel like you have four ball controlling guards of some kind, even though they're not guards.
Yeah.
It's just weird. It's strange. So
yeah.
I guess to make you feel better about some stuff, like Trey Murphy has recorded 28 points plus rebounds in 4 straight. We didn't mention this guy yet, but Sadiq Bey, another guy who can just bring the ball up at any point. 27 plus PRA in 7 of the past 8. Zion's the only one. I think this is an overinflated market for him, but he has fallen under 35 PRA in 6 straight games. There's just a lot of mouths to feed, and any guy can kind of do anything.
Yeah, and the only reason why I'm kind of off of the Zion spot is because of this Kings team, even with their ability of not being able to guard the center position and them having trouble against guards that can drive, their restricted area defense has been really good. 4th best in the NBA, at least according to the research model that we have. So, like, that makes a spot for Zion kind of scary. Much easier to go to a Trey Murphy guy who's going to rely on his threes. And, yeah, there's certainly spots to get behind. I guess also, I hate to be that guy because usually I'm the one that tries to ward it off in the chats, but like, how much are you trusting this game to stay close with Renaud? I'm having the Kings starting power forward as Daquan Plowden, who I don't know if I've ever heard of, and Nick Clifford at shooting guard. This is a pretty ugly starting lineup.
Yeah, it's gross. I'll try to always be optimistic whenever a spread's under 10, but yeah, I get it.
I'll always be the first. Someone asked me over the weekend about this game against, it was an early game against Washington, and Washington sat Alex Sarr, they sat Kaishan George, they sat nearly everyone. Someone in the chat was like, this has got to be a blowout, right? And I was like, well, Vegas still says that the Nets are only going to win. They're 8.5-point favorites, so like, if Vegas is going to say it's close, I'm going to say it's going to stay relatively close. And yeah, I think the Nets were up by like 40 at half. They ended up turning it around, and Wizards got a little bit closer. But yeah, this is one of those spots that's really hard to trust in overall.
It does. Yeah, it's again, like, who have we talked about so far? We're now 3 teams in where we've liked something a lot, and I think without an injury, right? So yeah, that's just kind of where we're at this week.
This has been the story of the show, I feel. Every time we've gone to this section, at least over the last 4 or 5 shows, it has been us going through these top implied team totals and being like, yep, don't really like a single thing here. Just kind of a good spot for the team as a whole, and there's not much you can do about it. All right, one more team to talk about, Jared, and that is the Denver Nuggets here. They are 120 point. They have a 120 point implied team total here. They're 1.5 point favorites. Over under set at 239.5. Facing off against this Cleveland team, you already talked about how this could be a fun matchup depending on the Jamal Murray stuff. Give me your thoughts here.
Well, that's just it. Another questionable tag, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah, if Jamal Murray plays, I think the spot's great for him. I think you look at above the break scores against Cleveland still, that's certainly not going to get any better with James Harden playing. So I do like that for him, though I will mention that, Jamal actually isn't to the top above the break scorer right now. That is Tim Hardaway. So we should at least mention that. From there, I think this is an interesting spot for like Joker rebounds. Seems relatively interesting. He's not really been an assist guy since coming back from this last this last injury stint. He has 14 plus rebounds in 3 straight games though. This entire game, because Cleveland was favored earlier, I guess technically it's as close to a pick 'em as possible. So I think this entire game in general is definitely one you should circle. I think it extends further than Denver, though I will say if I'm picking a side that I liked more doing the research, I'd like the Denver side a little bit more. I just need to get some injury clear up here. So Jokic, Brown, both probable. Jamal is questionable. And from there, yeah, I think that when looking at pace of play, you get advantage Denver. Cleveland is running at one of the faster paces, and Denver one of the slower paces. So you get it's a checkbox for Denver. I do think the 3-point spot's good, like I said. I also think that it's an interesting spot to kind of Cleveland's not allowing a lot of points to centers. So I think you kind of focus on Joker peripherals. But if if we don't get Murray, then you kind of have to believe in Joker full from all categories. So, yeah, it's another implied team total that's somewhat of a toss-up with injury news.
Yeah, for sure. All right. Anything else here, Jared? If not, we can head over to Hottest Shooters.
Something I wanted to run by you, because I don't think we've gotten the chance to talk about this since this happened, but not only is Spencer Jones out with a concussion, but we have Peyton Watson out long term, and that happened on Friday when we didn't, or it was like after the podcast because he got hurt in that game. What happens with Watson and Gordon and Jones out now? Oh, I guess Cam Johnson's playing, so I guess there's another wrinkle in there too.
Yeah, and then I think, or at least the projected lineup I'm looking at is that Julian Strother ends up being the 3 and Cam Johnson ends up being the 4. Strother got good run in that last game against Chicago, like really solid run. So something to keep note of is that he played 30 minutes. Game was kind of a blowout, but still got 14 shots up in that game too.
Yeah, we saw Cam Johnson play 27 in the game against Chicago. I would like to group him into the 3-point scoring conversation with him and Hardaway. So I think that is something you could take a look at if you're really dying to play this game.
Yeah, for sure. All right. Let's head over to Hottest Shooters. Jared, I'll let you kick it off. Who do you want to talk about here?
Well, I didn't really have much to say about a lot of things coming into this. Like, it's been a relatively middling podcast in terms of spots that we really like. Something that I would like to at least bring up here is that Ryan Rollins continues to still crush for Milwaukee, even though, actually, they've kind of pulled off some wins for whatever that's worth. Doesn't help their tanking situation. He has 25 plus PA in 6 straight, 3 plus 3s in 5 straight as well. And I think when we talked on Friday, like this segment was really short. And so how did that look, over the weekend in terms of like, is anything standing out for you here?
No, I mean, like I feel like I just keep going back to this spot when we talk about hottest shooters, but Joel Embiid continues to be a guy that should be on this list. 30 plus points in 8 out of the last 10 games. That's not easy to do whatsoever, and he's doing it at a pretty elite level right now. So I have to mention the Embiid stuff. He's obviously still questionable today, but I do like that spot. There was another one that I saw that it might have been a historical matchup and not a streak spot, but yeah, I don't have much else. Desmond Bane continues to be a good shooter. I think we talked about that. Did we talk about it? Did we talk about it against Brooklyn? I don't remember where we talked about. Or no, we talked about it against OKC, and that's the one spot he really did fall short. But he's had 19 plus points in 8 of the last 9 games. He falls into a decent spot today. Yeah, not much else though.
Really isn't. And that's whether that is the trade deadline or, teams going through tougher stretches or whatever the case is. I'm stalling just because I'm looking through all these trends and all this list, and I can't find anything that I really like. So,
Yeah.
Or they're just not on the slate today. Desmond Bain was another guy I was going to just mention in passing. He also finds himself in a good spot today. Yeah, I mean, James Harden. So I guess something we saw in the James Harden debut game was that there are worlds that he and Donovan Mitchell can thrive together. I think that's few and far between, right? Because that game was against Sacramento. So, what do you think of that system as we move on here? Because obviously Mitchell had made that list for pretty much every show last week.
Be very, very careful with trusting Harden for like 20 plus points for the rest. I think you are going to get pure like playmaker Harden back in the mix here. I think you're going to see 15 plus potential assists every night now. Remember, he scored 23 points because he went 5 for 8 from 3-point range against Sacramento. So,
Yeah.
that's obviously not something you can rely on whatsoever. Yeah, just be very careful. I think he is very much more an assist guy now than anything else. He's going to operate as this team's point guard, just like Darius did. I mean, Darius did a really good job of it, but yeah, he's going to be an assist guy now.
Last thing I'll mention is that we have seen Pat Spencer get run in Golden State with all these injuries, and he's had 26 plus PRA in back-to-back games. I wanted to mention that because it directly affects what Podziemski has done without Curry recently, and just as doesn't have good historical numbers this year with Curry off the floor. He's fallen under 15 points in 9 straight games without Curry.
Yep, for sure. All right, anything else here? If not, let's move right along to round table.
Let's move along.
For those who don't know how it works, Jared and I bring some of our top plays to the table to talk about in different statistical categories. Those categories are points, rebounds, and assists. Jared, we'll start out with points like we always do, and I'll let you go first. Where do you want to go?
I think I'd like to start. Yeah, I think this applies to both of these guys in this game. We know for Brooklyn that MPJ, I don't think I mentioned it at the top of the show, but MPJ and Igor Demon are out, and along with that, we saw Brooklyn waive Cam Thomas, so they're really, I would say, rather thin today, and I do think that while these guys are kind of untrustworthy from a scoring perspective, they do find themselves in good spots today. The Bulls are allowing the second most points to centers and the third most points to power forwards over the last 7 games. They're also allowing a lot of restricted area stuff, so that makes this a good spot for Nick Claxton, Daron Sharp from those zones. I think Noah Clowney can actually do well from a 3-point perspective here. So, you want the big guys for Brooklyn today.
Yep, can certainly get behind that. I'm going to go over to this Kevin Porter Jr. spot, man. Look, we've seen him back for 2 games now. He's gotten 30-plus minutes in both of those games, which is very solid. And in the last game against Indiana, he took 20 shots. Look, you have to find a restricted area guy that's going to do well here. Orlando's giving up too many points in the restricted area for us not to find some way to take advantage of it. When things are going well, when KPJ is getting his shots up, he's getting them up when he makes his drives in the restricted area. So I like this KPJ spot. I'm hoping he technically plays the point guard. I mean, I'm sure he'll do ball handling plenty in this one because that's what you want. You want point guards against Orlando. But regardless, I really like this Kevin Porter spot. I think I looked at this over the weekend. Since Giannis has been out, which has been like the past 6 games, Kevin Porter has taken almost 8 restricted area shots per game, which is pretty insane. So yeah, really like this KPJ spot.
Yeah, this is another one where I think I'm willing to just buy into it. Rollins and Porter are essentially just flip flopping the 1 and 2 position.
Yeah.
So I do think there's a very much Boston situation where you don't really know who the true point guard is, and both guys just have pretty ridiculous peripheral rebounding and assisting opportunities, as well as I think the scoring stuff looks really, really good for Porter when you can consider that he missed like 6 games and then just automatically comes back in and plays 30 plus minutes back to back contests.
For sure. All right, let's head over to rebounds. Where do you want to go?
I mentioned it earlier. Julius Randle has recorded 7+ boards in 5 straight games against the Hawks. And on top of that, we know that Atlanta's been one of the worst teams in terms of allowing rebounds to opposing power forwards this year. Third most on the year, third most over the last 7 games. You tell me that, like, if Jalen Johnson misses this game and the amount of potential rebounds that then go up for grabs, like that I think regardless of the spot, if Jalen's in or not, I think Randle rebounds is something I'd still buy into.
Yeah, can certainly get behind that. I am going to go to this rebounding spot for Joel Embiid. I hope he plays through this one and he end up getting it. If not, you can go Drummond as well, and Drummond's just fine here too. But Embiid has been a very good rebounder recently. This has also been a weird spot for Portland where they've been really struggling against the center position. Regardless of, they're allowing the most points over the last 7 games to the center position, but they're also allowing the second most rebounds to the center position too. So I really like this spot for Embiid overall, but for this spot, we're obviously highlighting rebounds, and that's what I like him for here. I can definitely see him getting rebounds, but if you're playing something, I would recommend it being PRA most likely.
I 100% agree, and I'd rather rely on that spot than this one that I'm just gonna give like a fair warning to. There are not a lot of really good center spots in terms of rebounding, but this game, Memphis Golden State, has a lot of rebound opportunities for centers. The problem is that good luck trusting any one of these guys. We are at the point in the year where FanDuel has listed Kyle Anderson as a center for Memphis. I'm not kidding. It literally says power forward.
I know.
Center.
He's in our model, he's a center too. Or maybe not in our model, maybe it's somewhere else. But the projected lineup I just looked at showed him as center as well.
Yeah. So we have a 3-man rotation for Golden State at center with Draymond, Al Horford, Quentin Post because Kristaps is out. And then we have Aldama, Clark, and Edey out for Memphis. Prosper's getting like 5 to 6 rebounds a game in the 20 minutes that he's playing. Just good luck. Please, like this was one, like, the spot is really good, but like I don't think there's a single trustworthy body in the names we just mentioned.
Yeah, it's the same thing on the other side too, right? Like Draymond Green's in the same rebounding-esque spot, and I don't trust Draymond Green when he's playing center. Like it's not something that ends up working out. Though he was on TV today, which seems very weird that he's playing a game and he was on NBA Countdown on ESPN. Really? That seems like a conflict of interest, right, or something. I don't know. It seems kind of weird to me. He was talking about the Timberwolves, how they look really bad right now, or something along those lines.
He has no
There's no shoot around to do, or like go, I don't know, watch film or something. Like, it blows my mind.
Obviously called it in with stuff.
Yeah, so. Yeah, to say the least. Okay, assist. Where do you want to go?
I would like to figure out who we can trust the most for OKC.
Oh, no.
The fact that
I have it. I have the spot already.
You have it?
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead, man.
I really think it is Cason Wallace, man. I think he does start playing this point guard position. Without SGA this season, he's had 4+ assists in each one of those games. His line's at 4 today, or 3.5, excuse me. And I really like the Cason Wallace spot overall. I think Jalen Williams coming back makes people think this is going to be different. It's not going to be any different. You're still going to see Wallace play the point, the technical point. And because of that, I really like the spot. Like I said, 3 games Shea has missed this year. In all 3 of those games, Wallace has had 4+ assists. So, yeah. 3.5 assists is at plus 128 for the over too, so even more reason to like this Wallace spot.
Yeah, there's a lot of really strong trends for OKC today. With SGA out, we have a good chunk of like 3 to 4 games that you can kind of lean into. This one's probably on the tougher side, so I just think that like with all these Brooklyn guys out and with the pace of play situation we have here, the spot will line up good for whoever the point guard is for Brooklyn. I think that's probably going to be Nolan Traore today. Demon's out. We also know that MPJ is out. Like I said, Cam Thomas is not on the team anymore. And I think it's pretty clear that they're just giving Traore more run than Ben Seraph right now. So if you want to go somewhere in a relatively sketchy market in a really good spot, that would be the Nolan spot for me. The Bulls have allowed the most assists to the point guard position over their last 7 games.
Yep, can certainly get behind that. I don't want to forget this spot, so I'll mention it as we pass by here. But I do really like James Harden assist. I already talked about like why Harden's going to be like the point guard on this team now. He's going to take over that Darius Garland role. We've seen Denver give up the 4th most assist to the point guard position over the last 7 games, and even before Harden headed over to Cleveland, we saw some really good assist numbers. So first game with Cleveland, he ended up having just 11 potential assists. If you're telling me he's getting 8 off of that, and I expect him to have way more as he gets more involved in the system, I really like this Harden assist spot too.
Yeah, I can also just make a case for any Orlando guard, whether that's Suggs or Anthony Black. Going to be an awesome above-the-break scoring spot for the majority of this Orlando team, which, by the way, Wendell Carter Jr. just got ruled questionable, so something to keep an eye on. But yeah, both guards for Orlando are at least in play for assists, too.
For sure. All right. Anything else here? If not, we'll head over to Two Minds Are Better Than One.
Let's move on.
For those who don't know how Two Minds Are Better Than One works, Jared and I go back and forth, each of us selecting 2 player props each. We put those player props into a parlay, with our goal of the parlay being to have the odds around plus 100 to plus 150. We played over on DraftKings Sportsbook, but you can play it wherever you'd like. Jared, I'll let you start out. Where do you want to go?
I think what I'll do is just lean into the Austin Reeves stuff. I think that we have seen him now play 7 games without Luka. He's had 29 plus PRA in 6 of those. I'm not ultra worried. I'll get your thoughts on his minutes restriction, because I feel like he's just been hyper efficient even in rather limited minutes. So, like I said, getting close to the 30 PRA mark in 6 of 7 games without Luka. He's obviously smashed in full workloads in this situation. I understand that the matchup can be daunting if you look at it from a variety of angles, but I think OKC has not been more vulnerable than they are right now. So I like this game to stay close, and I like Luka or Austin Reeves to be a huge part of that. So we'll go with whatever you want for him. PRAs, I don't know, like 25.
Yeah, so this is where the conversation, I hate when we get stuck in these in-betweens. 20 plus PRA is minus 1120. 25 plus PRA is minus 268. So kind of a tough spot either way, because minus 268 makes it hard with all 4 picks. But up to you. Which one do you want to go with?
I think 25 is totally fine, man.
Yeah, let's go with 25. I like the spot. I don't think the minutes restriction is all that much. I know he did not do well against the Warriors over the weekend. I will also say that he got absolutely floored by Draymond Green on an illegal screen that kind of took him out of the game and definitely changed the route of game for him. So, like, I think he's fine from it, but I think it did kind of alter his game overall. And, I think that 25 plus PRA is perfectly fine here. I am going to go to this 76ers in Portland game. I know we talked a lot about Joel Embiid, but I'm actually going to go to Tyrese Maxey, and we're going to go for 2+3s here. Above the break 3 spot for Tyrese is massive tonight, and he has been struggling overall, but his above the break 3s have still been solid. He's shooting 35% from there over the last 7 games. He's making 3 of them per game as well. So I like this Tyrese Maxey spot. So let's go for 2+.
Right. Let's see here. Why don't we just run the Derek Queen stuff at the PRA any PRA market we have available? We've talked about him in a positive light, and I do think that it should continue here. And I'm actually cool with points alone, but if you want to do PRA, that's totally fine.
Let's see what points alone gets us. We're kind of stuck in that weird in-between market for PRA, so let's go for 8+ points. And you know what? I'm going to try to make things super simple tonight. Let's stick in the same game. Let's go for Trey Murphy for 2+3s as well. I think it is one of those key spots that this Pelicans team really hits on tonight, is those threes. And Yeah, hopefully this game won't be too much of a blowout. Or if it is a blowout, hopefully it's because of Murphy and Queen at the end of the day. So altogether, we have Derek Queen for 8+ points, Trey Murphy for 2+ 3-pointers made, Austin Reeves for 25+ PRA, and Tyrese Maxey for 2+ 3-pointers made. Altogether gets us at plus 109, Jared. All right, man, let's get out of here. Give your final thoughts.
For a 10-game slate, I feel like our options are rather limited or at least cloudy as of 5 p.m. Eastern, which is kind of just how the week before the All-Star break generally goes. So it's one that I think, like we had talked, which I think this game should be on national television tonight, and if it's not, it should be. We didn't talk a single lick about Detroit and Charlotte, and we didn't talk about much for the Bulls. We didn't talk about Milwaukee, Orlando all that much, though I think that any game that Milwaukee's been in recently has been a really good spot to target for the opposing team. There are landmines everywhere, so I think that as of right now, the back end of the slate looks pretty solid in terms of we know what to expect in terms of injury outside of Embiid, and I think you could target some stuff in the Cleveland-Denver game, but for those top implied team totals, we're waiting on Norm Powell news for Miami and the best spot on paper there. We're waiting for Jalen Johnson news and Dyson Daniels news for the Minnesota Timberwolves spot. That would also change the Atlanta spot. So yeah, and then trusting New Orleans team that has at least 3, maybe 4 point guards on the team or point forwards. It creates a messy slate. So yeah, just be careful. We kind of have to probably zoom in our player pool and make it a lot smaller than it would normally be on a 10-game card, and we just kind of wait for news to drop from there.
I was gonna say that this is one of the bigger news slates of the year. It feels like not even that there's a lot of questionable tags, but there's a lot of questionable tags in important spots, right? You have Jamal Murray, which kind of makes you wait on Nikola Jokic. It makes you wait on Murray, regardless. But that's a big injury. Then you have Diaz, a big injury. I think Denny's in one of the better spots on the slate, but wasn't able to really talk about him because he's questionable, and without knowing if he plays or not, makes that spot really tough. Embiid on the other side. I think Philly's in a great spot overall. It's just you can't really know what to do that team until you get Embiid news there. Dyson Daniels. It'll be a great spot for Ant, like we talked about at the beginning of the show. But you really need Daniels to end up sitting. You need Jalen Johnson to end up sitting if you really like the Julius Randle spot. And there's a few others. The Norman Powell spot's another one that it's kind of just up in the air. And a lot of these spots are up in the air in spots that you really like today. So it's a big injury slate where we kind of need to wait out these bigger injuries to figure out who's in and who's out, and that'll help us make final decisions. But with the injuries right now, it's a really tough slate. Even for 10 games, it feels like a really tough slate. So just keep that in mind. Hopefully injuries give us some clarity on where to go. But definitely a tough one. Definitely a head scratcher a little bit.
We're stuck in between a rock and a hard place because yesterday was the Super Bowl and next week's the All-Star break. So we're just... Oh man, this today screams like major hangover day for the NBA. Though it feels like it's been like that all weekend.
For sure. All right, I don't have anything else. If you don't have anything else, let's shoot the shit. We'll talk about the Super Bowl. Whatever you want to talk about here.
Well, let's stay in the NBA momentarily here because we just got news from Underdog and from Stein saying there's been an unidentified Dallas investor group that is now interested and reached out to Mark Cuban to buy the Mavs back from the Dumonts.
Good.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, best case scenario for Dallas fans. The Dumont stuff is super. You can go down a rabbit hole. That one. There's lots of stuff that's conspiratorial, and then obviously the whole AD to Luka trade, the stuff you got back from that. It just came across my timeline now, so that was interesting for us to bring up right now. But yeah, Super Bowl. I think that while my Patriots plus 4.5 did not work, the under did hit, and for the majority of the game, I was surprised at, not surprised because crazy things always do happen, but kind of talked in the chat all week about, how this market wasn't moving for Seattle. Minus 4.5 whatsoever. It was the most publicly bet favorite in Super Bowl history. I think that for the majority of the game, I sat there and was like, this is panning out kind of exactly how I thought it would. Didn't think that the Patriots could win in a shootout, and that didn't happen. And I thought that the game, at least from the first half up until the halftime show, I felt like everything was kind of on schedule. Jason Myers going bananas from a field goal perspective. Yeah, Drake May taking a lot of sacks, and that's something that they're going to have to try to figure out. Their offensive line having one of the worst showings of the season. Yeah, so I think at the end of the day, I kind of came in with really low expectations of like having a really exciting game on paper, and that's kind of what it turned out to be.
Yeah, for sure. Definitely a lot of question marks with the Pats. Feel like you kind of need to move Will Campbell to guard. Like he's just not built to be. He's too small to be a left tackle. So I'll be interested to see if they end up going that route with Campbell because it feels like you kind of need to. And if he doesn't, then it's kind of just like an ego problem of like you think you're the shit at left tackle, but you're really not. So very interesting to see how that all pans out. Yeah, disappointing. Disappointing on my end. I really did not want to see the Seahawks win. I'm a huge Niner fan and a huge. It'd be like seeing the Bears win for you. Like I think that would be
I'd
the
turn
equivalent.
the TV off.
Yeah, I did turn the TV off, so I was pretty pissed off. It is what it is. I saw a whole bunch of posts. It was like, of course, the one time that the Seahawks have gone to the Super Bowl in the past few years, they get to face off. I think they said like the San Jose Wreck team, and the Niners. The last two times they've gone to the Super Bowl have to face off against the best QB in our generation. And I was like, yep, that's pretty accurate. And then I think they commented on that post. I was like, sorry, that was probably disrespectful to the San Jose Wreck team because the Pats played just that bad. Yeah, tough watch. Not that happy, but yeah, we move on. Pretty boring game overall. But like, I don't know. As I was talking to my friend, I was telling him like, you could see it from the first few drives that this wasn't really going to work. Like, you could tell if you weren't able to tell pretty immediately, like, hey, this Pats team does not look good right now, and the Seahawks are kind of doing their thing, which is like they're moving the ball, but they kind of stall out in the end zone or in the red zone, excuse me. That's been a theme for them all year. It's why Myers has, I think he passed the record of scoring the most points in an NFL season as a kicker. So, like, yeah, like that's been their theme all year. It's unsurprising to see that they dominated that way, but you could tell, like, the Pats did not have it. And a lot of people are making fun of Will Campbell, but like you said, it's an overall O-line thing where I don't think anyone on the O-line looked all that good.
Nope. All right, enough of that. I do think we can at least chat some baseball and then get out of here. We do know that pitchers and catchers are starting to report, which has led to a bunch of signings today. We even got a trade this morning. The big news, though, I think on the day is that Marcell Ozuna is going to have a one-year deal with the Pirates, who have also made just a good amount of adjustments, at least something we're not used to seeing for them. So thoughts on this? Obviously, this does feel like he's going to play for this team for about 4 months, and then he'll probably go to a playoff contender. Thoughts on the Marcell Ozuna stuff, and then we can get into the other stuff.
Good investment. I think at the end of the day, you'll probably end up getting like a decent, maybe if he plays like super well, a top 100 prospect, but most likely just like a few solid pieces out of it. And hopefully he ends up being a big enough difference maker where maybe the Pirates fight for the wild card, though I think that's like a 10% likelihood at best, as sad as that is. Yeah, I don't know. I don't really care about I'm more interested to hear your trade thoughts about your trade.
Yeah, we'll get there momentarily. Key additions for the Pirates this year. We have them getting Ryan O'Hearn. We had them getting... Did I miss this? They got Brandon Lau? They did.
Yes, in a trade.
I forgot about that.
Mm-hmm.
They also obviously got Marcell Ozuna today. And then they got Gregory Soto to get some bullpen help. So... Not a bad offseason. Jake Mangum as well. So, got some stuff going here.
Yeah, definitely not bad overall. It feels like it does help the lineup a little bit. I don't know. We'll see. Definitely interesting. Definitely fun.
Uh, the Brewers Red Sox got into a trade today, which felt like kind of it's a head scratching move, at least for the Brewers, in the fact that like you gave up your entire third base depth in one day. I don't know if you knew, but all of
Yeah,
those
I
guys
kind of
are
figured.
your third baseman, like one, two,
So
and
who's
three.
next? Like I thought
think
you guys
what
had
they're
like a
doing is
plan.
they're it's either because like Durbin, we've had this third base issue for a very long time where there's just hasn't been consistency there, and I don't really know what they're trying to do. Are they trying to just fast track Jesus Mid to the MLB level? That seems like a not this year project type of thing,
Mhm.
or they're just gonna find a third baseman off the street like they did with Andrew Vaughn last year and figure it out. But I don't know what the answer is right now. It seems like there's something else coming here. So the Red Sox got Caleb Durbin, Andrew Monasterio, Anthony Seigler, and a comp pick. Brewers get Kyle Harrison, David Hamilton, Shane Drohan. I don't know what David Hamilton really brings us either, as of like backup infield depth. I don't think he plays third base, and I do at least understand to a certain degree that Kyle Harrison could be used as a back end uh, southpaw depth kind of piece. Like that kind of makes sense because Milwaukee's majority of their starting rotation is right-handed. So that at least I can make a case for, but it's a head scratching move.
Yeah, this article I'm looking at from I think it's Bleacher Notes Sporting News. Joey Ortiz can play third for them. That seems a little
They
questionable at
really want him
best.
at short though.
Yeah. Jet Williams is a guy who plays middle infield, so maybe they plan on moving Terang or Ortiz over to third, so they can have Jet there in the middle. But that seems like a later in the year project, not a like a
Right.
put him in right away. So I don't know. They also say maybe they have another deal already lined up for a third baseman. At the end of the day, the biggest loser ends up being the Red Sox because it just proves how invaluable this Rafael Devers trade was. Like, clearly just like an overreaction. If you keep Devers on the team, I don't care how pissed off he was. If you keep Devers on the team, you have an answer at third base already this year. You don't have to go trade for anyone. So like Bregman left. Like you cleared room for Bregman just for him to leave already. Like I don't know. Just seems like a really stupid. Makes the Red Sox look like big idiots for this whole thing. It makes the trade look even worse. Like Kyle Harrison was like the celebrated piece for them. People talked about Kyle Harrison
Yep.
potentially developing as like a number 2 or number 3 starter, and you don't get this low. Not to say Durbin's like all that. I like Caleb Durbin a lot. I'm a big fan of Caleb Durbin. He didn't really prove it this year, but like I like him. But they did not get enough in return to make this Kyle Harrison piece look like it was all that much. So I don't know. Big head scratcher, like you said. Someone asked about it in the chat, and I just said like it feels like the biggest mad deal of the year. Like, I truly I don't know. Shoulder shrug. Both teams get like C minuses for the trade, and that's that.
Yeah, I'm sure that the Brewers were like, "You're gonna give us a pitcher that obviously has things wrong with his profile that we can fix and turn into a
Yeah,
stud.
true.
Like,
Yeah.
let's just take it and see where
Why
it goes."
not?
But
Yeah.
yeah,
Uh, all right. Anything else, Jared? If not, let's get out of here, man.
we can talk about if you have any thoughts on the Jazz stuff. Obviously, outside of the Super Bowl this weekend was essentially like NBA's got a tanking problem. It's
Oh,
now we have what 8 teams that are projected to tank for the foreseeable future here, and I think that that's a big reason why the Giannis stuff never went through is because Milwaukee finds themselves in a spot where they could get a top 3 draft pick if things shake out correctly. The Jazz stuff happened this weekend, and on top of that, we also got news that the Thunder are being investigated in the game that they dropped against the Spurs last week for sitting a bunch of guys. So I don't know. Think like it. The NBA has a massive problem, and I just don't think that they have the balls to decide one way or the other.
dude. Like, what else do you do though? Like, you
I
can't
think you
outlaw.
start finding team picks.
I
Like,
guess.
take the
Like,
picks away.
you only have 2 picks though. Like, how do you find a team a pick? Like, I don't know. It takes so much developmental stuff away. It's not like all these teams that are tanking. It's not like they don't need the piece. Like you have 7 teams that are under 20 wins, and they all suck. Like Sacramento sucks. Needs a new piece. Indiana needs a new piece. New Orleans the worst trade of last year. This pick goes to Atlanta instead, and Atlanta's going to get extremely better because of that. But New Orleans sucks. Washington sucks. Brooklyn sucks. Utah's gotten better, but they suck right now. Dallas sucks. Like, all these teams suck. All these teams kind of need to lose. Like, I don't know. There's no... Like, I think it's easy to say, like... And this isn't an offense to you. This is just talking about everyone that's saying it. Obviously, like, something needs to be done about tanking, but I think it is the best thing they could have done was to make it that way so each of the top or bottom 3 teams have equal odds for the first overall pick in the lottery. Like, there's not much else you can do outside of that. Like, unless you want to extend it to the bottom 5 teams have equal chances at the first pick, but then you're going to reach into more spots that, like, teams that get the first overall pick will need it, but, like, won't need it as much as someone else. So, I don't know. Obviously, like, the worst team should get the overall number 1 pick, and right now it's set up to be one of Sacramento, Indiana, or... It should be New Orleans, but technically it's Atlanta. I think that's pretty deserving. Like, I think that makes sense. I don't know. It looks bad on the NBA's part. It's definitely an issue. I just don't know how you fix it. It's not an easy fix.
Well, it's going to be even worse. This is just the writing on the wall because we found out that the NBA Board of Governors are likely to vote on expanding by 2 teams in the summer. That won't be like, I don't think that'll be like it's probably like by 2030 situation, but Vegas and Seattle are favored to have teams, and if you add 2 more teams on top of this, it would definitely it would certainly have to shift conference play, right? Somebody's got to move over, like Minnesota's gonna have to move to the east, or New Orleans is gonna move to the east, or something like that. But yeah, I think with that only comes more dilution.
Definitely gets into interesting conversations of, like, from there you obviously have to do a draft. How many guys get protected on each team to fill those teams?
8 guys.
Yeah, it's
that's what the report said.
Yeah, that's what I think. I mean, that's always been like the proposed reports. So I'd be curious to see. It would definitely make some things interesting. Definitely would be a lot of fun. But yeah, like you said, it just makes things a little bit more of a headache overall for the league. Memphis should move east, obviously, right?
Well,
like that's the most no-brainer. Yeah, I've always thought about that and thought about how stupid it is that they're in the West. Sure, if we thought a little bit, we could think of some more too. All right, anything else? Yeah, I mean, tank stuff is bad. I think in stuff like last night or stuff like with this Utah team, like sitting Laurie and Jaren that late into the game. I think that stuff needs to be... Maybe you do need to give up your second-round pick. Or maybe your first-round pick, like, automatically moves back a spot. Or something absurd. But, like, there does need to be some fix. It's just a matter of making a fix. It can't be too harsh, but it has to be harsh enough. And I don't know what that is right now.
I just feel like at this point, money doesn't matter as much to these owners or to these organizations. And... the only other way to enforce penalty is by doing the pick situation.
Yeah, for sure. Just looking at this Indiana pick and forgot that it's protected 1 through 4 and 10 through 30. I forgot how stupid that was. All right. Anything else here? If not, let's get out of here.
Let's get out of here.
Dude, there's 5 teams that have 14 or less wins. That's so gross. That's so disgusting. All right, let's get out of here.
Get the 20? Who gets the 20? Do they want to get the 20?
Who gets the 20? New Orleans should get the 20. I would be shocked if they didn't. It makes there's no reason to tank anymore. Like you have to win to make things worse or make this trade look a little bit better. So I think New Orleans will get to 20. Will anyone else get the 20? I don't know, a little bit more questionable. Maybe Indiana will. With Zubac and everything, I would find it hard for them not to get the 20 somehow. But all right, let's get out of here. Thank y'all for listening. As always, my name is Joshua Reimer, and we will see y'all tomorrow.